The Jordan gambling shadow. Michael Jordan's first retirement in 1993 was framed as burnout, but whispers said otherwise. Rumors swirled that his well-known gambling habits had drawn unwanted attention from the league office. Stories about late-night casinos, heavy debts, and questionable associations became fuel for speculation that the NBA quietly nudged him out. Publicly, the league denied it, but the secrecy surrounding his baseball switch only deepened the mystery. Even years later, insiders claimed David Stern wanted to protect Jordan's image by masking a suspension as a retirement. The NBA has never confirmed it, but the timing, the rumors, and the way it vanished from discussion made this one of the most banned conversations in league history. Suns' 80s cocaine ring. In 1987, the Phoenix Suns were suddenly tied to one of the darkest scandals in league history. Authorities revealed that several players were allegedly connected to a drug trafficking ring centered around cocaine. Police wiretaps, raids, and courtroom testimony painted a disturbing picture of nightlife and addiction hidden beneath the franchise's glossy exterior. Though some charges collapsed, the reputational damage was crushing. The NBA wanted the story buried fast, knowing how dangerous it looked for the league's image. Fans today rarely hear about it because the league and media downplayed the coverage at the time. What could have been a defining scandal instead became a nearly erased chapter, effectively banned from the mainstream record. Kobe and Shaq blackmail feud. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal were teammates, but their rivalry went deeper than basketball. In the early 2000s, tensions exploded when reports surfaced of off-court blackmail and locker room threats between the two. Stories circulated that Kobe had used sensitive information about Shaq's personal life during an infamous fallout, while Shaq allegedly responded with his own leverage. Both players denied the most extreme claims, but teammates hinted that the feud was uglier than the public ever knew. The NBA did everything possible to keep the spotlight on championships, not personal wars. Much of what really happened was buried quickly, but fragments leak out in interviews, keeping alive a feud that was almost banned from official history. The NBA's secret codeine problem. While marijuana and steroids grabbed headlines, the NBA had another hidden issue: codeine syrup. Behind the scenes, whispers of players hooked on lean spread across locker rooms in the 2000s. It was quiet but dangerous, with suspensions rarely publicized and stories quickly disappearing from mainstream coverage. Some players faced internal discipline without fans ever knowing. One veteran later admitted that it was far more common than people realized, especially in certain markets. Yet the NBA seemed determined to keep the problem under wraps to protect its clean image. Unlike cocaine in the 80s, codeine abuse never became a front-page story, which is exactly why it remains one of the league's most banned hidden scandals. Las Vegas All-Star disaster. The NBA thought bringing All-Star Weekend to Las Vegas in 2007 would be a showpiece event. Instead, it turned into chaos. Fights broke out in clubs, casinos overflowed, and reports of violence and arrests piled up. Locals described the city as overwhelmed by thousands of rowdy visitors. Multiple shootings and even player-related altercations put the league on edge. The NBA quickly downplayed the damage, but behind closed doors, officials swore never to return. What should have been a celebration of the league became an embarrassing black eye that the NBA worked hard to erase. The league rarely references Vegas 2007, treating it like a banned mistake they would rather fans forget. Suspicious draft lottery envelopes. Everyone knows the 1985 Patrick Ewing lottery conspiracy, but it didn't stop there. Fans have whispered for decades that other lotteries were rigged to help struggling franchises. From the Cavaliers landing LeBron James in 2003 after a 17-win season, to the Bulls improbably grabbing Derrick Rose in 2008, suspicions never died. Former players and media insiders have openly questioned the randomness of results. The NBA fiercely denies tampering, but shady coincidences and leaked stories about frozen envelopes or bent corners keep fueling conspiracies. Talk about it too openly, and the NBA brushes it off as nonsense. Still, the suspicion that the lottery has been quietly influenced makes this one of basketball's most banned conversations. The ABA hit job. When the NBA absorbed the ABA in 1976, fans thought it was a merger. In reality, insiders say it was a hit job. 4 ABA teams were brought in, but the others were left to die. Their owners pressured or bought out with pennies on the dollar. Promising franchises like the Spirits of St. Louis were buried, their players scattered. The NBA erased entire histories, even blocking highlights from circulation. The few survivors got rich deals, but most ABA legends were lost in the shadows. The NBA wanted a monopoly, not a partnership, and they buried their competition to get it. That's why so many ABA stories feel like they've been banned from the league's official timeline. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. The NBA referee hotel scandal. In 2007, referee Tim Donaghy shocked the league by admitting he bet on games he officiated. But the hotel scandal aspect often gets buried. Donaghy claimed other refs gathered in hotels before games, openly discussing how they would call fouls against certain players or teams. He suggested the league wanted certain outcomes to boost ratings and ticket sales. The NBA denied any widespread conspiracy, branding Donaghy a lone rogue. But his book and leaked FBI notes hinted otherwise, raising questions the NBA has tried to bury ever since. The official line was simple: protect the brand. That's why Donaghy's claims are still treated as a banned conversation the league wants fans to forget. Kermit Washington blackballing. Kermit Washington's entire career changed in 1 second. In 1977, during a fight on the court, he struck Rudy Tomjanovich with a punch so devastating it fractured his face and nearly ended his life. Washington was suspended, fined, and forever branded as a villain. But the aftermath was even darker. For decades, teams avoided him, treating him like a pariah, even after he tried to rehabilitate his image. Stories about his blackballing spread quietly, but the NBA never wanted to highlight how far the punishment went beyond the court. While others moved on from worse acts, Washington's name remained radioactive. The league practically erased him from its narrative, making his story one of basketball's most banned tragedies. Jason Williams' nightclub shooting. In 2002, former Nets star Jason Williams was at his mansion hosting friends when tragedy struck. Reports say a limo driver was fatally injured after a gun went off in Williams' hands during a party. What followed was years of trials, mistrials, and plea deals that dominated headlines. But the NBA moved quickly to create distance, quietly stepping away from one of their brightest stars. By the time it was over, Williams' career was finished, and his name barely appeared in official league channels. It was too disturbing, too messy, and too connected to the NBA's image. The story is rarely told today because it was essentially banned from the league's official history books. Tarplry's Lifetime Ban. Tarplry looked like a future superstar for the Mavericks in the late 1980s. He was a 6'11" big man with skill, rebounding, and defensive dominance. But addiction cut his career short. Tarplry violated the NBA's substance abuse policy multiple times, eventually earning a lifetime ban. What makes his story especially tragic is how hard the league worked to erase him. Tarplry bounced around international leagues, but his name was seldom mentioned again in NBA circles. He became an example the league didn't want to talk about. Tarplry's downfall remains one of the most disturbing banned stories. Chris Washburn's fall from grace. Chris Washburn was drafted 3rd overall in 1986, considered a future cornerstone big man. Instead, his career fell apart almost instantly. He struggled with discipline, addiction, and clashes with coaches, eventually failing multiple drug tests. By 1989, he was banned from the NBA entirely. Washburn later admitted to using drugs before games and even missing practices while spiraling out of control. His potential was never realized, and the league quickly moved on without him. Washburn's story is barely ever told because the NBA wanted to bury the embarrassment of such a high draft bust tied to substance abuse. It remains one of the most quietly banned stories, a reminder of how brutal the league's spotlight can be. Reggie Lewis autopsy mystery. In 1993, Celtics captain Reggie Lewis collapsed during an off-season practice and passed away at just 27. The tragedy rocked Boston, but the mystery around his autopsy has haunted fans ever since. Conflicting medical reports raised questions about whether heart issues were ignored or mishandled by doctors. Some suggested drug testing was covered up to protect reputations, though no official evidence confirmed it. The Celtics and NBA stayed tight-lipped, treating it as too sensitive for public discussion. To this day, parts of the investigation remain sealed, and Lewis's death feels shrouded in unanswered questions. The silence has left fans believing his story was quietly banned from the NBA's public narrative. It's a heartbreaking ending shrouded in secrecy. The banned sneakers scandal. Before sneaker deals became billion-dollar empires, the NBA once banned shoes for being too flashy. In 1985, Nike released Michael Jordan's red and black Air Jordans. The league said they violated uniform codes and fined him $5,000 every time he wore them. Nike gladly paid the fine, using the ban as marketing fuel. But the NBA didn't just stop there. Other players who tried bold designs faced pushback too. Behind the scenes, the league worked hard to maintain a conservative image, burying stories of rebellion through sneakers. The irony is obvious today. What was once banned became the foundation of a global sneaker culture. What the NBA tried to hide became bigger than the league itself. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf protest. In 1996, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf refused to stand for the national anthem, saying it conflicted with his faith and beliefs about oppression. The NBA suspended him, fined him daily, and quickly painted the act as unpatriotic. Behind the scenes, the league pressured him to compromise, forcing him to stand while praying silently. His career never recovered. Teams steered away from him, and within 2 years, he was out of the league despite still having talent. The NBA wanted the story buried because it raised uncomfortable questions about free expression and politics in sports. Abdul-Rauf's protest was decades ahead of its time, but the NBA treated it like a banned chapter in its history. If you liked this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.